Hello and welcome to this day in history for November 11th. November 11th is the 315th day of the year in the Gregorian calendar, with 50 days remaining until the end of the year. And today we're going to start in the year 1572, when Tycho Brahe observed the supernova SN 1572. Clever how they named it after the year. In 1620, the Mayflower Compact was signed in what is now the Princeton Harbor near Cape Cod. The Mayflower Compact was the first governing document of Plymouth County. It was written by male passengers of the Mayflower, consisting of separatist Puritans, adventurers, and tradesmen. The Puritans were fleeing from religious persecution by King James of England. 1778, Cherry Valley Massacre. Loyalists and Seneca Indian forces attacked a fort and village in eastern New York. It says eastern New York, but it's really more central New York, during the American Revolutionary War, killing more than 40 civilians and soldiers. On November 11, 1778, Patriot Colonel Ichabod Alden refused to believe intelligence about an approaching hostile force. As a result, the combined force of Loyalists and Native Americans attacking in the snow, because it does snow early up there, killed more than 40 patriots, including Alden, and took at least an additional 70 prisoners in what is known today as the Cherry Valley Massacre. Cherry Valley is east and a little bit north of Cooperstown, New York, in Otsego County. I've been there on purpose. Ironically, on November 11, 1775, exactly 3 years before this massacre executed by aggrieved Iroquois, the Continental Congress had engaged the missionary Samuel Kirkland to spread the gospel amongst the Indians and confirm their affection to the United Colonies, thereby preserving their friendship and neutrality. Well, I guess that didn't quite work. 1831, Nat Turner executed in Virginia. In Jerusalem, Virginia, Nat Turner was hanged after inciting a violent slave uprising. 1852, Louisa May Alcott published her first story. Saturday Evening Gazette published The Rival Painters, A Story of Rome by Louisa May Alcott, who would later write the beloved children's book Little Women. I've read Little Women. It's been a while ago. On November 11, in 1864, American Civil War General William Tecumseh Sherman began burning Atlanta to the ground in preparation for his march to the sea. In 1889, the state of Washington was admitted as the 42nd state of the United States. Racking them up. 1896. Mexican-American historian Carlos Eduardo Castañeda was born on this date in 1896. He specialized in the history of Texas and was a leader in the push for civil rights for Mexican Americans. He died in 1958. 1911, many cities in the Midwestern United States broke their record highs and lows on the same day as a strong cold front rolled through. 1918, World War I ends. At the 11th hour, on the 11th day of the 11th month of 1918, the Great War ended. At 5 a.m. that morning, Germany, bereft of manpower and supplies and faced with imminent invasion, signed an armistice agreement with the Allies in a railroad car in France. 1921. Exactly 3 years after the end of World War I, the tomb of the unknown soldier was dedicated at Arlington Cemetery in Virginia during Armistice Day ceremony, presided over by President Warren G. Harding. 1922. American novelist, short story writer, and essayist Kurt Vonnegut was born on this date in 1922, 11/11/22. In a career spanning over 50 years, Vonnegut published 14 novels, 3 short story collections, 5 plays, 5 works of nonfiction, with further collections being published after his death. He's most famous for his darkly satirical best-selling novel Slaughterhouse-Five, 1969. The book's anti-war sentiment resonated with its readers amidst the ongoing Vietnam War, and his reviews were generally positive. Now see, I'm guessing that the item we saw yesterday, where they burned copies of this book, was probably really less about some concern that it was too much for children to read, and maybe more about a counter to the anti-war sentiment. I'm just guessing that, though. A very interesting character, Kurt Vonnegut. He said he was going to sue the Brown & Williamson Tobacco Company, the maker of Pall Mall branded cigarettes that he had been smoking since he was 12 or 14. Yeah, he's going to sue him for false advertising. And do you know why, he says? Because I'm 83 years old. The lion, beep boop. On the package, Brown and Williamson promised to kill me. You know, he's talking about the warning that says cigarettes may be hazardous to your health, or whatever it says now. He died from brain injuries after a fall. I've included a link to his Wikipedia page in the show notes that has lots more information about him. I mean, it just went on forever. Very interesting character, Kurt Vonnegut. Should check it out if you're interested. And you should be. Kurt Vonnegut, great author, interesting human. Happy birthday. In 1926, the United States numbered highway system was established. In 1942, the draft age was lowered to 18. They lowered the draft age to 18 and raised the upper limit to 37 so that they could pull in more men. In 1966, NASA launched Gemini 12. In 1973, the Soviet Union refused to play Chile in the World Cup soccer. The Soviet Union announced that because of its opposition to the recent overthrow of the government of Chilean President Salvador Allende, it would not play a World Cup soccer match against the Chilean team on November 21st if the match were held in Santiago. The International Football Federation had given the Soviets until the 11th to decide whether they would play the game. With the Soviet refusal, the Federation disqualified the Soviet team from World Cup play. It was the first time in the history of World Cup soccer that a team had boycotted over political issues. And that was back in 1973. In 1978, General Lee jumps into history. A stuntman on the Georgia set of The Dukes of Hazzard launched the show's iconic automobile, a 1969 Dodge Charger named the General Lee, off a makeshift dirt ramp and over a police car. That jump, 16 feet high and 82 feet long, his landing totaled the car, made TV history. Although more than 300 different General Lees appeared in the series, which ran on CBS from 1979 to 1985, the first one was the only one to play a part in every episode. That jump over the squad car ran every week at the end of the show's opening credits. In 1988, police made a grisly discovery in Dorothea Puente's lawn. Authorities unearthed a corpse buried in the lawn of 59-year-old Dorothea Puente's home in Sacramento, California. She operated a residential home for elderly people, and an investigation led to the discovery of 6 more bodies buried on her property. Puente had mental health issues and had already been in trouble with the law before. In fact, she had served prison time for check forgery, as well as for drugging and robbing people she met in bars. Not maybe the very best place to meet people, I think. After her release, she opened a boarding house for elderly people. Beginning in 1986, social worker Peggy Nickerson sent 19 clients to Puente's home. When some of the residents mysteriously disappeared, Nickerson grew suspicious. Puente's neighbors, who reported the smell of rotting flesh emanating from her vicinity, validated Nickerson's concern. Although all the bodies were found to contain traces of the sedative Dalmane, the coroner was never able to identify the exact cause of death. Still, during a trial that lasted 5 months and included 3,100 exhibits, prosecutors were able to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Puente had murdered her boarders, most likely to collect their Social Security checks. Though she was formally charged with 9 counts of murder and convicted on 3, authorities suspected that she may have been responsible for as many as 25 deaths. She died in prison in 2011. Also in 2011, NASA assured the public that solar flares won't destroy Earth. Back when people were worried about the world ending in 2012, NASA said that if the world ends in 2012, the sun won't be to blame. Contrary to what some doomsayers would have you believe, our star is not capable of blasting out a solar flare powerful enough to burn our planet to a crisp, according to the space agency. Good to know. I mean, solar flares can cause some serious mischief, but it is good to know that they won't just toss us into the bonfire. And I think that's going to wrap it up for us today. We got a little time left. As always, links to my research are included in the show notes. Thank you so much for watching. Give it a like if you enjoyed this video. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. And feel free to share if you found this video interesting or informative. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time. No, it's not October, it's November. All right, let's try this again. Blah, 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 coffee mug. Hello, kitty. Hello, parody. In 1972, H.
Your call cannot be taken at the moment, so please leave your message.
Thank you. Thank you so much. They don't want to leave a message. Somewhere I have an outgoing message that says, if you're not going to leave a message, stop calling. But I don't think I have that one on my answering machine. I don't know how to pronounce that. Come on now, read them numbers right. We don't need to repeat the date again. Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men? She's not a man. Sure would be nice if I could ever read one of these in its entirety without having to start anything over. That would be awesome. I might have to take another look at that. I'm going to have to look at that. Better take a look at that. This is why I don't do live shows.